All right, so we're diving deep today, and this one's really tailored for you.
Okay.
You sent in some fascinating stuff on like the origins of hip hop, and I gotta say, I'm really excited to dig into this, especially with like KRS-One's perspective on it all.
Yeah, we've got this lecture from KRS-One himself. Um, should give us some pretty profound insights, I think.
It's a lot more than just a history lesson, though, right? To think
Hmm.
about hip hop as he puts it, like African American enlightenment.
Hmm.
It's that's a powerful
It
statement.
really is. And to grasp the weight of that, I think we need to sort of like transport ourselves back to the South Bronx early 70s.
Okay.
Imagine this community grappling with poverty, the Vietnam War, like the heroin epidemic raging.
Yeah.
Hip hop wasn't just music, it was a response to these conditions.
Yeah.
You know, it was a way to reclaim joy, to find your voice in the struggle.
So are we talking about escapism then, or empowerment?
Huh.
Because it kind of sounds like it could be both.
I think it's both. Think about DJ Kool Herc,
Oh.
his sister Cindy's birthday party back in '73 at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. This is often considered, the birth of hip hop.
Okay, so we've got poverty, hardship, and then a birthday party. How does that spark a cultural revolution?
So Herc was doing something truly innovative. He was using two turntables to isolate and extend the instrumental breaks of funk and soul records.
Okay.
You know those moments on a record where the energy really peaks?
Yeah, yeah.
He called it the merry-go-round, and it got people moving in a way they hadn't before.
Wait, so he was basically like remixing on the fly before remixes were even a thing.
Exactly. And across the street, an 8-year-old KRS-One was watching, soaking it all in.
Wow.
So you had this fusion right from the start of raw talent, a need for release, and a community hungry for something new.
And then comes Africa Bambaataa, right? With his whole Zulu Nation thing. What was his role in all this?
So Bambaataa arrives on the scene in '74, and he's a fascinating figure because he's a former gang leader who saw the potential of hip hop to unite warring factions. He transformed like a force of division into a movement built on peace, love, unity, and having fun safely.
Mm.
And his vision really shaped what we now know as the four elements of hip hop. So you've got DJing, MCing, breaking, and graffiti writing.
It's wild to think how something born out of such tough circumstances could become a movement about peace.
It speaks to the transformative power of art. And it wasn't just about peace. It was about claiming a voice, expressing yourself in a way that challenged the status quo.
Okay, so we've got these amazing DJs, MCs are starting to emerge, and it's all happening outside of the mainstream, but then something shifts, right? I'm thinking about Rapper's Delight in '79. It brought hip-hop to a much wider audience.
Yeah, that's the moment when hip-hop went from a local phenomenon to a global force. Rapper's Delight was the first commercially successful hip-hop record. And it opened the floodgates.
Mhm.
But it also created a kind of split within the culture.
Between those who saw an opportunity to make it big and those who wanted to preserve the original spirit.
Exactly. You had groups like the Cold Crush Brothers who resisted signing with major labels. They wanted to maintain their independence, their artistic integrity.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had Curtis Blow, who signed a major deal and paved the way for others.
So was that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, signing with a label obviously opens up a lot of opportunities, but it also means playing by someone else's rules, right?
It's not really about good or bad, I think. It's about understanding the complexities of navigating the music industry.
Mm.
Especially when you're coming from a marginalized community. Do you hold on to your ideals? Or do you seize an opportunity that might lift you out of poverty?
And that's where, this is where KRS-One's perspective gets really interesting, right? He's not just talking about the music, he's talking about like a philosophy of life. He calls it intuit knowing, like this inherent wisdom we're born with that society tries to suppress.
He's challenging us to reconnect with that inner knowing, to tap into the power within each of us to shape our reality.
But how do you actually do that? What does that look like in practice?
It's about paying attention to your inner voice, questioning the narratives you've been told, and actively choosing the reality you want to create.
Okay, that makes sense. But he doesn't stop there, right? He goes even deeper.
No, he
He
doesn't.
talks about language and how it shapes our perception of reality. What's he getting at with that?
Well, think about how hip-hop artists use language. Slang, wordplay, metaphors. They're not just playing with words, they're reframing reality. They're reclaiming language as a tool for empowerment.
So it's about taking control of your own narrative, not letting others define you or your experience.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the power of language to shape our thoughts and beliefs and using it consciously to create the world we want to see. You
Okay.
know, and that idea of like reclaiming power through language, it's so central to hip hop's global impact. Think about Africa Bambata touring the world in the 80s, spreading those messages of peace and unity and self-expression.
Yeah, it's amazing how hip hop resonated with people from all walks of life, across, cultures, languages, everything. What do you think it is about hip hop that makes it so universal?
I think it's that it's about speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. You know, it's about turning pain into power, struggle into art, turning darkness into light.
Yeah.
That's a message that transcends borders and languages, you
So
know?
about making something from nothing, right?
Right.
Creating beauty and meaning in the midst of like chaos and adversity.
Exactly. And that's a message that resonates far beyond the realm of music. You know, it's a message that can inspire us to create positive change in our own lives, our communities, the world. I mean,
Yeah, and it's not just about the message either, right? The music itself, the beats, the rhymes, it has a way of connecting with people on a very like visceral level.
absolutely. There's a raw energy, a rhythmic pulse that speaks to something deep within us, you know?
Mm.
So it's no wonder that hip hop has become such a dominant force in popular music worldwide.
And it's interesting how the way we consume music has changed so much, I think, since those early days. I mean, with the rise of independent labels and the internet, artists have so much more control over their own destiny.
That's a huge shift. I mean,
Yeah.
in the early days, you had to sign with a major label if you wanted to like reach a wide audience. Now you can build a global following from your bedroom studio.
Which brings us back to KRS-One,
Uh,
right? And his emphasis on self-sufficiency. He's
uh,
not just saying go be a rapper. He's saying like use the skills and the hustle you learn from hip hop to create your own path.
he uses this hilarious example of a 50-year-old Irish math teacher becoming a successful DJ. It's about challenging our preconceived notions of what success looks like and who gets to define it.
It's about recognizing that we all have the potential to create something valuable, regardless of our background or age. But let's circle back to this tension we talked about earlier between preserving the culture's integrity and embracing commercial success.
Right, because that tension hasn't gone away. If anything, it's become even more pronounced as hip-hop has become more mainstream.
So how do we reconcile those two impulses? Is it even possible?
I think it's an ongoing conversation, you know? It's an evolving dialogue within the culture itself.
Hmm.
And, you know, there are artists who manage to achieve both commercial success and critical acclaim.
Right.
They're staying true to their roots while also, like, pushing the boundaries of the genre.
But it's not just about individual artists either, right? The music industry itself, the media, I mean, they all play a role in shaping public perception and influencing what gets heard.
Absolutely. There's a lot of power concentrated in those institutions.
Yeah.
And they don't always use it responsibly.
So where does that leave someone like KRS-One who's so committed to hip hop's core values?
Well, it puts him in a unique position, I think. He's a voice of conscience, a reminder of where hip-hop came from and what it can be.
He's not afraid to call out the hypocrisy,
Right.
the exploitation,
Yeah.
the ways in which the music industry can sometimes betray the very community it claims to represent.
Yeah, and that's important because without those critical voices, it's easy to get swept up in the hype, the glamour, the pursuit of fame and fortune.
Yeah, he's also not afraid to challenge the community itself, right? He
Yeah.
talks about the importance of personal responsibility, of making choices that uplift rather than destroy.
Right. He's not just pointing fingers, he's offering solutions.
Hmm.
You know, ways to break free from cycles of poverty and violence.
He talks about the crack epidemic and its devastating impact on communities. And
Mhm.
and he even points out that some record companies were complicit in that destruction.
That's a bold statement. And it highlights the need to examine the ethical implications of the music industry, you know,
Yeah.
how it can be both a source of empowerment and exploitation.
But he's not just dwelling on the negative. He's offering a path forward, a way to create a different reality. And it all comes back to this idea of reclaiming our power, both individually and collectively.
And that power starts with recognizing our own inherent worth, our intuit knowing, as he calls it.
So we've talked about the social and political context of hip hop, the power of language, the importance of individual responsibility. But I feel like we've only scratched the surface of the spiritual dimension that he keeps emphasizing.
You're right. That's a crucial aspect of his philosophy.
Hmm.
And it's where things get really interesting.
Because he's not talking about spirituality in a traditional religious sense, right?
Exactly. He's drawing on a wide range of influences from African traditions to Eastern philosophies to quantum physics. I mean,
Yeah, he brings up some pretty mind-blowing concepts, like the idea that the universe is alive and responsive to our intentions, that we are not separate from the universe, but part of a larger, interconnected web of consciousness.
hmm. And that's where the concept of the inner voice becomes so important. He's not just talking about some abstract spiritual concept, but about a very real and powerful force within each of us that can shape our reality.
Remember that exercise he does where he asks us to say rock star silently in our minds?
Yeah.
That's all about connecting with that inner voice, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that we are not just physical beings, but spiritual beings having a human experience.
And that's a profound shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It allows us to tap into a source of power and creativity that transcends the limitations of the material world.
So how does this all connect back to hip hop?
Well, hip hop for KRS-One is a manifestation of that inner power. It's about using creativity, self-expression, and community to shape a new reality.
It's about speaking your truth even when your voice shakes.
Right. It's about making something from nothing,
Yeah.
creating beauty and meaning in the midst of chaos and adversity.
Exactly. And that's a message that resonates far beyond the realm of music. It's a message that can inspire us to create positive change in our own lives, our communities, and the world.
Absolutely.
It's about realizing that we are not just consumers of culture, but creators of it.
And that's a powerful message, especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us who we are, what we should want, and how we should behave.
He's reminding us that we have the power to choose, to create, to resist, to define our own reality.
And that's the essence of hip hop. It's a spirit of defiance, of innovation, of resilience. It's about taking what you've got and making something extraordinary out of it.
It's about turning limitations into possibilities and obstacles into opportunities.
And that's a message that can inspire anyone, regardless of their background or interests.
I mean, it feels like with all of this, we've been given this incredible toolkit for self-discovery and empowerment, you know?
And it's all grounded in this idea that we're not just individuals like striving for success, but part of a larger interconnected web. You know, KRS-One, he talks about how a godless person is a slave.
Yeah.
And it's a statement that really makes you think.
Yeah, that one definitely stopped me in my tracks. I mean, is he saying everyone needs organized religion?
I I don't necessarily think so. I think he's getting at something deeper, to something that speaks to the human need for purpose and connection. He's talking about having uh, a guiding set of principles,
Yeah.
a belief system, something that gives your life meaning beyond just material pursuits.
So it's about having a moral compass, something that connects you to something bigger than yourself.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and that connection can come from many sources.
Yeah.
Spirituality, community, art, nature, even a deep commitment to a cause you believe in.
He also talks a lot about ancestors. How does that fit into all of this?
So for KRS-One, honoring your ancestors isn't just about remembering the past. It's about recognizing that you're part of a lineage, a continuum of human experience that stretches back generations. And that recognition can be incredibly empowering, I think.
You're not starting from scratch, right? You're building on the wisdom and resilience of those who came before you.
Yeah, he even links this back to intuit knowing. He suggests that our ancestors' wisdom is like encoded in our DNA,
Yeah.
that we can tap into their knowledge and experience through our intuition.
So it's like we're carrying this like hidden legacy within us, a wellspring of wisdom and strength that we can access if we know how to listen.
Exactly. It's about trusting your gut, that inner voice that speaks to you on a deeper level.
And I'm also struck by his emphasis on respecting our parents,
Hmm.
regardless of their flaws, especially in a culture that often glorifies, rebellion and tearing down authority figures.
He sees our parents as our first teachers,
Mm.
the ones who brought us into this world and shaped our earliest experiences. So honoring them is about acknowledging that connection, even if it's been challenging or imperfect.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, right? We all have a responsibility to care for and support each other, even when it's difficult.
And this brings us to KRS-One's perspective on race and the legacy of slavery. He challenges the traditional narratives. He argues that true liberation requires a shift in consciousness, a rejection of the beliefs and systems that perpetuate oppression.
So it's not just about changing the laws or the institutions, it's about changing the way we think, the way we see ourselves and each other.
Exactly. And he sees hip hop as playing a crucial role in that transformation. He talks about the power of naming things, of defining our own experiences and shaping our own narratives.
And think about how hip hop artists created their own language, their own style, their own way of being in the world. They didn't wait for permission or validation from the mainstream.
Right.
They created their own space, their own reality.
And that's a powerful message for anyone who feels marginalized or excluded.
Hmm.
It's about recognizing your own power to create, to define, to resist.
It sounds like what we've been exploring this whole time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Tapping into that intuit knowing, that inner power to shape your own destiny.
It's about understanding that true change starts from within.
Hmm.
It's about shifting our own consciousness and then using that shift to transform the world around us.
So where does this deep dive leave us? I mean, what are we supposed to do with all this knowledge, all this insight?
Well, I think that's the beauty of it. There's no one right answer. There's no prescriptive path. It's about taking what resonates with you and making it your own.
It's about using your creativity, your passion, your unique gifts to make a positive impact on the world.
It's about living a life of purpose, a life that aligns with your values and your vision for a better future.
And it's about remembering that you're not alone. You're part of a community, a movement, a legacy that stretches back generations and forward into the future. So go out there and create something amazing.
The world is waiting.
This deep dive has been incredible. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of hip hop, not just as music, but as a philosophy, a way of life.
And a powerful reminder that each of us has the potential to create, to inspire, to change the world.
Maybe there's a 50-year-old Irish math teacher out there right now about to drop the sickest beat you've ever heard.
Wouldn't that be something?
Until next time, keep diving deep.